Welcome everybody to Extreme Off-Road Silly Bills, and today we're dealing with a 1968 Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale. It's a 668 horsepower, 682 pounds-feet of torque from a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine. The car itself now weighs 1,373 pounds, and it now has off-road tyres, all-wheel drive and off-road suspension. And it can do 0 to 60 in 2.861 seconds, 0 to 100 in 5.558 seconds, and going to a top speed of 192 miles an hour. So yeah, the Koenigsegg CC GT was incredibly quick in the previous episode, managing to get into the second place and being only the 5th car to get below the 2-minute mark. Whether or not this extremely light but older car can do that kind of time, we'll have to see. But yeah, it should be interesting nonetheless. So yeah, obviously age and the fact it's not meant for doing this kind of course is obviously going to be going against it. But the fact it has a fairly decent amount of power and weighs extremely little, it's easily one of the lightest cars that we've ever had on this series, should hopefully make up for the fact it's not meant for doing this kind of thing while obviously dealing with all-wheel drive. And I'm not really too worried about the extra power, because even though it is far more than it had originally, this car was hardly slow in its stock form because of how light it was. So even though it had, you know, less than 300 horsepower, it was still incredibly quick because of how lightweight it was. So yeah, the extra speed and acceleration really isn't going to worry this car whatsoever. What potentially will worry it is the all-wheel drive system and the off-road elements. But as we have seen with plenty of cars in this series before, just because a car is not meant for going off-road does not mean it's going to be slow. With, yeah, like I said, the Koenigsegg CC GT going into second place, and the other 4 cars that it joins below the 2-minute mark are also non-off-road vehicles. So yeah, that's been the major surprise with this series, to be honest, is the kind of vehicles that have been quick compared to the ones that haven't been. You'd expect on a course like this for off-road vehicles to be the quicker vehicles, or at least cars that are meant for all-wheel drive in their stock form. And yet that just really hasn't been the case. I think the only all-wheel drive native vehicle on this series that's gone below the 2-minute mark has been the Bugatti Divo. So yeah, it's been really interesting seeing the results on this series. And this car's performing really well as well. Far more than I was expecting, to be honest. Blasting across the finish line there at 178 miles an hour, and a time of 2 minutes 2 seconds .482. So not quite as quick as the Koenigsegg, but considering its age and the fact it doesn't even weigh all that much, that is incredibly quick. And yeah, it's pretty much the same kind of time as a Porsche 718 RS60, which is from the same decade, but it is, yeah, slower than that by just over 1.5 of a second, or just below. But yeah, it's also slightly slower than the Zenvo TSRS and the Toyota Hilux Arctic Trucks AT38 and the Holden VL Commodore, but it is quicker than a Lamborghini Urus, an Aston Martin DBS Superleggera, an Alfa Romeo P3, so it joins that in the top 20, and it's also quicker than a Maserati Levante S, Toyota Celica GT4, Ford GT70, Maserati MT12, Lamborghini Sesto Elemento, and a Porsche Macan Turbo. So it's quicker than some off-roaders, but it's, yeah, pretty much right alongside some of the older kind of cars that, you know, this would be competing at from the time. And yeah, the only other car that's older than this, that is quicker than this, is the outside of the Porsche 718, is the Ford GT40 Mark 1, which is pretty similar to this car in being mid-engine and rear-wheel drive in its stock form. So yeah, fairly impressive, to be honest, considering its age and the fact it doesn't weigh all that much, which can have the obvious positive effect of having better acceleration and handling, but also can mean it can get trucked around by the bumps and jumps on the course. So yeah, the fact it manages all of that okay, and the all-wheel drive system and its extra power, yeah, is really good. And yeah, big surprise, and it's the only the second car from Alfa Romeo to get into the top 20, but it's also the joining an Alfa Romeo P3, which again was not an off-road vehicle and is even older than this, from 1934. So yeah, overall really impressed, and yeah, really blew it out of the park in terms of its time, considering everything that was going against it. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.